And welcome back to the boot room. Today we're going to look at Watford 0, Wolves 2. At the start of the match, Watford adopted a deep-lying 4-3-3 shape, switching to a 4-1-4-1 formation when defending in their own half of the field. Wolves fielded their normal shape of 3-4-3, the same formation used to great effect by Brighton against the Hornets a couple of games ago. The opening 15 to 20 minutes saw the visitors have the majority of possession. On the occasions when Watford won the ball and tried to move it forward, Joshua King was left very isolated as both Sarr and Dennis were located deep and wide of that 4-1-4-1 formation, and the midfield three didn't seek to join the attack to retain possession. As such, possession was surrendered and allowed Wolves to create the momentum early on. A feature of the game was again a lack of pressure on the ball by the Hornets. Instead, they sat very deep in a position often referred to as a low block, and this in turn led to 8 Wolves corners in all, and a number of trends started to form. First, the good. Joshua King is extremely good at defending the near post area at corners and set pieces, often meeting the ball at its highest headable point. This was one of Troy Deeney's unheralded strengths. At corners and set pieces, opposition players often created an overload at the back post that we seem to willfully neglect. These two items will repeat through the game, and not in a good way. Another trend was the lack of pressing from the front. This is understandable as Joshua King is up front on his own, but Wolves would play the ball around seemingly unthreatened and then play forward under little or no pressure. This example of building up play on one side, and then in this case Connor Cody playing a long flat ball to the opposite flank, was extremely effective. This shot shows the amount of space created by this tactic and the distance that the Watford defence would have to cover in order to regain a solid defensive shape. Another trend similar to the Brighton game was the opposition trying to steer our play into a predictable area. Here, Jimenez looks to block the passing lane, in this case from Bachmann into Etebo, to cut out that passing option and force us to play out via one of the centre-backs. As Bachmann passes to Sierralta, Jimenez checks Etebo's position in order to move and once again position himself to block a pass to the Nigerian. This helped prevent Watford using a 3 versus 2 numerical advantage in the centre of the park. After 20 minutes or so, Watford came into the game, and the rest of the first half would be easily their best period of the game. Sarr, whilst being doubled up on for the majority of the time, combined with Ngakia to good effect, but crossed ineffectively when better placed to shoot, and in this example used quick feet to release Sissoko for a shot at goal. This angle shows once again the attention the Senegalese winger receives. The energy levels rose and we finally did some pressing in the middle of the park, and on one occasion did what we'd threatened to do, play a ball in behind for our pace to frighten them. Etebo dispossesses his opponent and sees Dennis's run between the centre-backs, and suddenly Wolves are scurrying to defend. We need to do this far more often than we did in this game. Raise the energy levels, press the opposition and play the ball forward positively. The first half ended with us threatening to start the second on the front foot. In fact, we could have gone into the second half with a lead, as Ismaila Sarr created a chance that Josh King slid in for, but narrowly missed. It has been suggested that King hesitated due to a lack of confidence, but as you can see from both angles of this goal, he doesn't hesitate and is very unfortunate not to actually make contact. We must remember that King has only played 25 minutes versus Brighton, 65 minutes versus Spurs, and only 53 minutes against Wolves, and he is really returning to full fitness. He was taken off early in the second half, and in my opinion, we lost a lot of our cohesion as a result. The second half, however, did not go our way, and Wolves were good value for their win in the end, but there are some old failings on our part that are worth reviewing. Our defending of set pieces now falls firmly in the zonal marking camp, as few if any defenders elected to man mark an opponent. The overload at the far post was again in evidence, but not the issue on this occasion. For this free kick, Jimenez makes a late diagonal run, and Hernandez, who is by no means a natural defender, is pinned by a Wolves counterpart player. Etebo is looking towards the ball and realises too late that Jimenez is in for a free header. This angle shows the build-up in clearer detail, but for a wayward header we would have likely been a goal down at this point. And now for the goals. If you're of a nervous disposition, then look away now. There is a lot wrong with this goal. You could ask Bachmann to be more dominant and claim the ball, but we have bodies on the edge of the box to deal with that. The overload at the back has occurred again. Sierralta's starting position is about 9 to 10 yards from the goal line, but seeing the flight of the ball, he turns around, so his body shape is facing towards the goal. Troost-Ekong repeats his error for the first Brighton goal by jumping underneath the ball. Both Ngakia and Sierralta are, I believe, assuming he is going to clear the ball as we had seen done by King in the first half. By the time it is apparent that Troost-Ekong has miscalculated again, it's too late. Sierralta tries to head the ball away, but his body shape leaves him producing a textbook attacking header, downwards and back into the corner where the ball came from. The second goal, and there are multiple things to notice in the build-up. Yes, there are individual errors at play here, but the organisational and communication errors are also noticeable and telling. The ball is played wide to Semedo on the right flank as detailed earlier. Our defensive shape seems okay, but watch the Wolves number 5, Marcal, over the next few frames. He is currently being marked by Cucho Hernandez, but Hernandez will let him go, and he will go on to create the overload at the back post that has been the recurring theme of the game. As the frames advance, the Wolves number 10, Podence, moves right and creates a pocket of space to receive the ball. Sierralta was not tight to him, so Podence is able to turn. You can see at this point that Marcal has now simply walked away from Hernandez and is targeting the area behind Ngakia. Sierralta goes to block a shot from Podence, but he has faked the shot and instead turns. Troost-Ekong is now ball watching, and the Wolves 26, Hee-Chan, makes a run behind Troost-Ekong, which Ngakia moves to block. Sierralta turns his back on Podence, who is able to cross the ball to the back post, where Marcal now lurks unattended. Whilst Marcal's effort is blocked by the recovering Ekong, it falls to Hee-Chan to finish into an empty net. Summary. There was so much wrong with this performance that this video could have gone on for hours. Fundamentally, we seem to have no idea about what sort of team we are. One thing is for sure though, start with tempo, start with aggression and be on the front foot. We've been far too meek from the start of the last 3 games. Either choose to press the ball around the park and play the ball in behind the opposition backline, or 2, drop deep and select to be a counter-attacking team. If that's the case, do not waste your quickest offensive players in Sarr and Dennis as playing wing-backs. Use their pace offensively and again pass the ball behind their backline. Set pieces. Defensively, can we please switch to man marking? Both zonal and man marking are flawed, but players fundamentally understand man marking. There's accountability and responsibility. There is less of a confusion, and if we concede, you know exactly who it was who's to blame or who needs to be improved or rested. Offensively, stop the short corners. A corner or a set piece is an opportunity to bring the taller defensive players forward. Conceding the ball and being counted on ourselves because of a badly played short corner is not good use of the ball or the opportunity. Creativity doesn't have to come from the midfield alone, but in the absence of any perceivable game plan, we need to help us create chances beyond hoping that Sarr will do something whilst being doubled up on, and also doing a defensive job for the team. We're way too dimensional in that respect. We also have to get support to King or whoever is playing furthest forward. We are leaving the forward player far too isolated. We have to get players around him, and when the ball is in wide areas, we need to commit men forward into the box.